evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. If you have watched a single episode of this show, you probably know how excited I am right now. I am not quiet about my Real Housewives obsession. I'm not quiet about how much I love this person who walked into our lives this season of Real Housewives as a normal human being. That being said, we're laughing already. That being said, what you don't know about her, because they don't really get into it, is that she is a cryptocurrency trader. She's a mother of an incredible 26-year-old, an animal lover, a philanthropist. She's just an all-around super, super cool person. And I'm so excited that you're here. Miss Elise Lane, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. What a great introduction.
Well, I've been practicing. I figured I should say more than that one's friend, right?
Or the ex-friend.
The ex-friend of. I can't believe you're a friend of. You're so much more fun than that. I'll give you your own show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd watch you.
You've already let me say more than the ladies on the show ever let me say. So we're good. Now I love you.
There we go. All I had to do was let you say exactly 2 sentences and it's already beaten the quota of,
right.
There we go. All right, maybe I'm the new Mindy Cohen. I'm not sure. Let's jump into the Big Mom 3, because something that a lot of people don't know about you, because again, you said maybe 4 words on TV in like a million episodes. People don't know, you're a great mom.
Thank you.
She's mad at you for giving advice on the internet because she's like, no, Mom, that's my advice.
She's like, you are helping my competition. She's like, don't give it away.
Don't give it, or at least, Mom, get paid for it, for Christ's sake, right?
No, she does not want it given away. She's like, do not help the competition. New York City is tough enough. This is only for me to absorb.
And meanwhile, she's all over the internet listen, here's my love advice for women of the age of 26, specifically. Okay, first question of the Big Mom 3. Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
I not only always knew I wanted a mom, but I knew from the age of 5 that I was going to have a daughter named Nikki.
Really?
Absolutely. I kept a little diary as a little girl, and I still have it. And I used to write letters to Nikki. And then every boyfriend I ever had always knew that there was going to be a daughter named Nikki. And whenever I broke up with them, they all thought they were original, and they wrote a letter to Nikki.
Oh my God. I love a good prop on my desk, for work, and I'll put this up during work hours, but I'll put it up for you too. That's ridiculous. That's so stupid. And did you always want one, or did you want more, or was daughter Nikki the thing?
Well, I was focused on daughter Nikki, so I never thought about more than one, but in hindsight, I definitely wish I had more.
Very cool. Very cool. Daughter Nikki, 26, always knew we were going to have her. You manifested that. Good for you.
Yeah.
Would you have been disappointed if a boy popped out and you would have been like, it's Nicholas and it's the same thing and now he's a girl?
So my daughter, and she's always late. Well, so I was basically 10 months pregnant with her because she was late. And after 36 hours of labor and then an emergency C-section, and when they did the C-section, they put up a drape so you can't see. And she was so fat that when the doctor pulled her out and I didn't see her, the doctor said, it's Buddha. And I thought she said, it's a boy. And I'm like, no, it can't be.
No, it has to be a girl. I've been writing letters. Super funny. Okay, second question of the Big Mom 3, and you're a born and raised New Yorker. You're from Long Island, like me. We're Long Island chicks, which we don't fuck around.
No, we do not.
So, very good. Absolutely not. So second question, Big Mom 3, and I hope that whatever this is, I hope that you yelled in the person's face, even though I know you're not dramatic. But what is the shittiest or most backhanded piece of advice you've ever gotten from another mother or parent?
So when I was getting divorced and my daughter was around 12 at the time, someone told me that I was making her too accessible to her dad and I should basically use her as a pawn in the divorce and try to alienate her from her father.
Oh no.
And I said to this woman, I already want to call child services on you because you do not deserve to have children. You are.
I know we weren't going to bring her up, but was her name Ramona Singer?
You know, ironically, right? And I pride myself on being objective. I do think Ramona's a good mom.
And we're going to get into a game later, so maybe you'll give her as the answer. But that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
that
like
was
toxic stuff.
Toxic advice. Yeah.
Wow. That might be some of the worst advice I've heard so far. Like, I've heard some weird ones. That's like straight up like illegal.
And unsolicited, by the way.
Do you still know? Like, is this person still somebody you have to see in your life?
No, no.
All right, good. A good saying my mother always said was, I wish for you what you wish for me. That's how we feel about her.
Right.
Wish for her what she wishes for you. Third question of the Big Mom 3. What is like a skill or superpower you had before becoming a mom that you think has really helped you as a mom?
I was always very creative. So I made up great learning games for my daughter, which I used to play something called Math Mystery. And I used to take these little Post-its and I would put 10 or 15 of them around the apartment. And one side would have a math problem. And when she solved the math problem, she could flip it over. And then there was a riddle that led her to the next Post-it. Oh, and cool. The math problems got increasingly more difficult. And she would collect points with each problem she solved. And she had options where she could then at the end of this, you know, one game, she could use her points to buy, you know, gummy worms or something like that, or she could accumulate her points because I encourage saving, and she could accumulate her points and use them for something really big. And the big prize was that she could buy a personal day from school as long as there was like no exam.
I love that.
You know, no questions asked. She had a personal day. And I started to have to make the problems really difficult because, you know, I would have been like bad mom of the year because she was just getting too many personal days because she was getting so good at math. So I was like, all right, we got to make this like, you know, calculator type stuff.
I love that idea. That's such a fun game. There you go. Another piece of advice stolen. Sorry, Nikki. We're stealing it for our own. Sorry, your mom's giving us live advice right here, right now. But that is a really great segue. So always creative, always, you know, doing a lot of fun things and engaging your audience, so to speak, right? So you started off your career as a journalist, and we're going to kind of skirt past that, but you said something super funny before we came on, and I was like, you know, I know how to pronounce your last name, but I always double check just because what if like the entire world is pronouncing it wrong? What did you tell me?
I said it's slain, like murdered with an E. And I said it's basically, you know, a freebie for a journalist in case they ever find my dead body, that the headline should read slain, slain.
It writes itself, but stay the fuck away from Elise. She's everybody loves her. The world needs her. So do not slain. Okay, but so what I think a lot of people don't know about you, like I actually, before I reached out and we were chatting, I was like, oh my God, like she has a life, right? Like I don't think a lot of people realize that about the women on the show. Like you have a real life, you have a career, and you started your career out on Wall Street.
Right.
So what I find fascinating is that the time that you started your career, and we're not going to like call out the time, right? Because I'm not gonna be like, Elise, how old are you? The time you started, like it was the wild, wild west. Like there was no expectation for like men treating women well. There were a lot less laws. What was that like? Because at the same time, you were also single parenting for a portion of your time on Wall Street, right?
No, I was single when I started on Wall Street, when it was the Wild West. By the time I was a single parent, I was already doing my own investing and not working with a firm.
Oh, interesting.
So Nicole was 12 really by the time her dad and I split.
it. So, but when you were on Wall Street though, I mean, like, I don't know, is there something that sticks out in your head is like, I can't.
Oh my God. I mean,
Where do you start? I know, it's like, we could be on it for hours.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I wrote a book, I would either be slain before it gets published, or I would get paid a lot of money to not publish it and not use real names, because there were no guidelines for what men can and cannot say to women. I mean, I do think the Me Too movement has gone too far, and I think the pendulum needs to come back in the middle.
Little equilibrium, yeah.
But the things that I used to put up with, like I had a guy, and this is before Goldman Sachs was public, and he was a partner at Goldman Sachs, and I was at Cantor Fitzgerald, and Goldman was my client. And he had said to me at a Cantor function that we were having, he just very nonchalantly came over and he said, you know, Elise, I've decided that if you don't give me a blowjob, Goldman's not going to do business with Cantor anymore. And I'm in my early 20s.
Yikes.
And I was like, well, I guess we'll miss your business, you know?
Yeah.
And then
I'm glad you weren't like, well, I really need your business. So
oh my God. So then a few days go by and they are literally not doing any business with us in mortgage-backed securities. And the guy who ran the trading desk at Cantor said to me, what's going on? You haven't done a single trade with Goldman. They're buying, you know, 300 million Fannie Mae's away from you, and they haven't done a single trade. So me thinking this guy would be shocked and appalled on my behalf, I said, well, XYZ said to me that if I don't give him a blowjob, he's not doing any business with Cantor. And my boss said, and do you want us to pay for your knee pads?
Oh, no.
Can you imagine? Now, in today's world, I would have owned Goldman Sachs. I would have owned Cantor.
Yes.
Right? I mean, can you imagine?
No, but not to that extreme. Like that stuff still happens, right? Like you know, you and I are both still in the business world. Like that shit still happens. Not like that though. It can't. Well, not as.
Yeah, I don't think that really happens now. I mean, now you can't even, and my daughter's at a hedge fund. I mean, she said to another woman that she liked the woman's dress and the woman got offended by that.
That's too much.
Right.
That's too much. I mean, I get it. I get the Me Too movement. I'm a supporter of it, you know, believing victims and things. Not everyone's a victim, and it's not always nice how people go about reporting things.
Right. I mean, I don't believe everyone's a victim. And I believe that unfortunately that the real victims lose credibility because everything has gone too far to the extreme. And there was something, and now I know I will be shamed for saying this.
I can't wait.
There's something powerful about being an attractive woman on Wall Street and knowing what you have and what you're dealing with. And instead of being a pawn, you're a player making all the men pawns.
Straight. For my viewers out there, I spent 7 years in the automotive industry, and that is probably the truest thing that anybody has said on this show. That is 100% true.
Okay,
right.
good.
There's something about knowing, like, listen, I look good. I know what I'm doing here. Like, these guys are idiots. They can treat me however they want. It doesn't bother me.
Right.
You know, stand up for yourself. Be assertive. Nothing wrong with that. More good advice.
Absolutely.
More good advice. I love it. And now, so now you're an investor on your own, and the reason we're filming at 4 o'clock in the afternoon is because you trade cryptocurrencies with China in the evening. Like
with Korea. Yeah. So cryptos trade 24/7. And it gets very active at a certain time at night. I mean, there are certain times where there's more volatility than others. And there's always a jump in volatility as Korea starts to wake up and come in.
Wacky. Like, it's bizarre to me, the like person that people have seen on TV and the actual person you are. Like, that you spend your evenings like doing something really smart.
On a good day, I am.
You're very smart. Well, that's amazing. So let's pivot a little bit, because now you're using your Instagram. Like I said, it's sort of like, it's becoming like an advice platform. Like you're just doing fun stuff. You're giving advice. I know your daughter's really mad about it, Nikki. I'm really sorry. What do you like? What's next for you? Like, what do you hope to do with that? Is it a show? Is it a podcast? Is it, I don't know, Elise Lane Live? Like, what are we doing here?
Well, the reason why I started giving advice is because I was amazed how many people were sending me DMs asking me for advice. And I wasn't sure if that's just sort of what they do when they see people on TV, but I had asked the other girls on the show and they said nobody was asking them for advice. And I was like, yeah, duh, right? Thank God. But for some reason, I think people considered me the voice of reason. And one by one, I was responding to people. And some people I've really taken under my wing. And I give advice from relationship to parenting to friendship. A family got me in the middle of their family feud with their daughter. Their 17-year-old daughter reached out to me, and I actually helped this family solve their problem, where both the daughter and the mom came back and thanked me. And when I was getting enough of the same type of questions, I said, I'll do this as a video instead of responding to everyone individually. Unless something is really personal or traumatic, then I would respond individually. But I said, let me just do some of these generic videos that people were asking for advice. And some of the videos were really, going viral. So I was getting more questions. And then I just started saying, okay, well, this is sort of fun and people are enjoying it. So I kept it going. And then podcasts started calling me the relationship expert and asking me to do, to be the relationship expert on the podcast. So where I want to go with it, I don't know. I mean, people have asked me to do podcasts, and a producer had talked to me about doing a show, but crypto is my full time. But I don't know. I definitely flirt with the idea.
Because you have a real knack for it, it's such natural advice. It's not like force, I don't know, you're not awkward about it. You give good advice. So now I know, like we've said it a few times, your daughter's not happy about you giving advice. How did she feel about, so the show is the show, right? But how did she feel about the experience after, where it's leading you now? Is she happy with
she's actually not unhappy with me giving the advice. She was being playful.
Of course.
But I definitely gained even more credibility with her when her friends started listening to the podcast, and her friends were like, Nikki, I need your mom's number. I need to bounce something off her, So I definitely went up several levels in her mind as far as having credibility. And what was the question about? How does she feel about me doing the show?
Yeah, so not doing the show, right? I think ultimately you came out looking wonderfully. So, was she very proud of you as a daughter, as to her mom that got on one of the shows on television that you're like, oh my God. And minus some craziness, you came out looking very, very good, I think.
Thank you. Well, so I actually gave her, and maybe for the first time, veto power over me. So when they asked me to be more regular on the show, I asked her how she felt about it. And I said, look, on this thing, you can tell me not to do it. If you're going to feel embarrassed by it. And she was on the show when she was 16, actually, in one of, for Avery's Sweet 16 party. She was one of the girls there.
I'm familiar.
And she saw how they edited her to look like she said something completely different than what she had said. So she knows what they're capable of doing. So I left it up to her, and she thought about it, and she said, I know that you're never going to embarrass me. And hopefully you're smart enough to know how to avoid being edited in a way where something can come out embarrassing. So she was okay with it. She has not watched all of them.
Okay. I have. 100%. Yeah, 100% have. That's wonderful. I love the relationship you guys have. And I think that it's so cool when a mother and daughter, when your daughter's a little bit older, you become best friends, so you had said, my daughter is my best friend.
Right. Right. I absolutely raised my best friend.
Well, you knew you were going to have her since you were like 5. So you've had some
Yeah. But I remember literally the specific event where I realized like this kid's going to be in a foxhole with me for the rest of her life. And it was when her dad had finally moved out and his closet was completely empty. And she had walked into my room and caught me looking into his empty closet, you know, and I just was sort of was taking it in for a minute.
Yeah.
And she just sort of stood by silently and she looked at me and she said, well, looks like it's just me and you, kid. And she walked into my closet, took out a bunch of my clothes and put them in his closet. And she was like, we just need to fill this up. You know, and she was a kid. And I was like, wow, good job, Mom.
When you raise them right? All of a sudden that's cool. Well, I'll ask for another piece of advice then. So I have a 1-year-old, right? What's the best piece of advice you can give for someone with a 1-year-old daughter to keep on that path of being best friends?
Let her be able to confide anything in you, and give her advice without ever making her feel judged.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes you want to cringe, right? You know, you just want to cover your ears and be like, la, 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 you know, when they start coming of age sexually and stuff. But you just have to listen, take it in, and then the advice has to be more like, you know, well, sweetie, I believe this is what you feel, or maybe you should look at it from this perspective instead of, you know, the finger pointing and the judgments.
Interesting. That's also great advice. I love it. I really do think you should pivot into some type of like show because it's on the fly. Like we didn't plan this, right? We did not tell Elisa we're going to ask her that question. She just gave me good advice. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right. So listen, we got to talk about it a little bit because you know I love the show. We're going to play a little game that I've played on the show before. It's called Who's Your Mama? And it is all Real Housewives. It's not just New York. Because you do know some of these women, you can plead the 5th.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I've never watched any of the other shows.
That is the most piping hot cup of tea around that you've spilled over here. Never. I love it. All right. Well, then maybe it's New York specific. And if you can't answer, you can't answer, but we'll give it a shot. Okay. So first question of Who's Your Mama? Who do you think, and we're going to take you out of the equation because it's not really fair. Who do you think is the best mom out of, and we'll say the Real Housewives franchise, knowing you'll probably stick to New York because it's who you know.
Right. I think Heather Thompson is a great mom. And I knew Heather way back when. And I actually think that Ramona was a good mom.
Good mom. Interesting. Yeah. I love it.
Bad friend, good mom.
Yeah, you know, we wish for her what she wishes for us.
Right.
You know, and we move on. I've always given, so Heather has been one of my answers too, and Leah. Those have been like 2 of my, you know, I don't know, who the hell knows what she's doing, but she seems cool. Okay, this is the question I'd imagine you're probably going to plead the 5th on, but it's okay. Who is the worst mother out of the Real Housewives franchise? It's okay.
I'm dying to give you my answer.
You like put in sign language and nobody knows to me. I love that there isn't.
There is an answer.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. When we stop filming, maybe you'll tell me. We'll plead the 5th on that. The answer that I have given time and time again is Lisa Rinna. Poor thing. You know.
Oh, see, I don't know Lisa. Yeah, and I don't know.
Her and Alex, I think her name is Alex McCord, are the 2 I've given that. Not for me. Okay, but I think you can answer this one. So, whose parenting style aligns the most closely with your own?
You You know, the only one whose parenting style I know well was probably Ramona's, right? Because Heather, she had just had the babies way back when, and I haven't watched her raise them. I knew Bethany back when she was single, way before she did Housewives. And so I haven't seen her with Bryn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me to answer.
Okay. Listen,
yeah, just because I don't have full knowledge.
I appreciate you giving any answer at all.
Okay.
Well, listen, thank you for coming on. We're going to start to wrap it up. I have two final questions for you. The first being, and this is just like, I'm curious because you're a New York City chick. You probably know some good tips, right? For new moms, is there like one product that you feel like every new mom should have, either for the baby or like for themselves?
Well, for themselves, I have to give a plug to a company, a skincare company I partnered with, Beauty Society. And I partnered with them because I became obsessed with their products. So the one product that I would say is Saving Face,
Okay.
which is it's a mask.
Okay.
Right. Another product, which I have nothing to do with, but I just love, is a product by Peter Thomas Roth, and it's called Skin to Die For. And it's, instead of foundation, it's this very light moisturizing tint that you put on. And I just love that. And for the babies, the product that I couldn't live without, believe it or not, Cheerios when she was old enough.
Hey, you know what? Now we're in like a puffs culture.
Right.
Now they're like those little dissolving puffs. Cheerios is a good battery.
Yeah. I used to get a kick, like when she had just like the 2 teeth or the 4 teeth, to hear the crunch. It just warmed my heart.
It's so cute. That's where my daughter is now. She has the two bottom teeth, so it's a lot of like just kind of chewing.
Right.
Very cute. So she does, like, she eats food on her own. We did something called baby led weaning. So it's like she just eats whatever we eat, you know? So we
Right.
like let her try soup the other day. So we went in, you know, with a spoon, and she was like, what the fuck? Like, she couldn't figure it out. So she just kind of took the spoon like with her teeth and pulled the soup out. So yeah, the 2 teeth they're very, very cute.
You know what? You're lucky in that you have your baby now. What's her name?
Lily.
Lily. So I love that name. So you have Lily now, where you can just take pictures and videos every second, right? So I didn't have that when my daughter was little. And I did take as many pictures or videos as I could, but back then videos were big cameras and stuff. I would say capture as many moments as you can, because as much as you've heard this and you think you have digested this, you blink and they are grown. I found a note the other day from my daughter that she wrote to the Tooth Fairy. Oh. This was, by the way, such like a New York kid moment, because when she lost her first tooth, I had surprised her, and I took baby powder and I put it all along the windowsill, and then I put it on her dresser, and she used to love these little Swarovski crystals. So yeah. I got her this little fairy crystal, and I said to her, oh, did you hear a noise? We were in the kitchen, and we went to her room, and the window was cracked, and I had taken her Barbie and made little footprints, you know, in the baby powder. So I said, footprints. I said, do you think the Tooth Fairy was here? And we followed the footprints to the little present, and I wrote this tiny little note from the Tooth Fairy. Dear Nikki, thank you for the tooth. Here's a fairy from my private collection. And Nicole was so thrilled with this. But then later on that night, as she was like processing it, she really didn't like the Tooth Fairy like flying around her room unauthorized.
It's creepy. Yeah, of course.
So she comes over to me with this note, and she's like, Mommy, we have to get balloons and float this to the Tooth Fairy. And the note said, Dear Tooth Fairy, thank you for my crystal. With my next tooth, would you mind leaving the present with the doorman?
New York kid shit, 100%.
Yep.
Super funny. Oh man. All right. Last and final question. What is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
Oh, how fast the time goes.
I had a feeling that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, when my daughter was graduated from college, I literally just sat there in shock. It goes so fast.
Yeah.
So I made every day count. That was something I learned to do later in life, and I wish I'd learned it way sooner.
That's good. Another good piece of advice. Well, thank you so much for being here. Where can people follow along on your great advice on all of Elise's awesome new adventures and things she's doing?
Instagram is at Elise Slane, and Twitter is Slane Elise because someone hijacked my name.
Slane Elise. Oh my gosh. Well, you heard here first. Make sure you follow this lovely lady everywhere she goes. And thank you so much for tuning into Shit Moms Won't Say. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a great one.